rebels ousted the president of the Central African Republic in March, the landlocked nation of more than 4 million people has descended into chaos. Now, the United Nations is considering all of its options to prevent violence from destabilizing the entire region. CCTV's UN correspondent Stephen Fee is in New York with the latest.
Well, Mike, the Security Council appeared to edge ever closer to a full-blown peacekeeping operation in the country. Now, there's a long logistical timeline, though, which means that such a force likely wouldn't be operational until well past mid-2014. Deputy Secretary General Jan Eliasson says nearly all of Central African Republic's 4.6 million people are, quote, enduring suffering beyond imagination.
The CAR is becoming a breeding ground for extremists and armed groups in a region that is already suffering from conflict and instability. If this situation is left to fester, it may develop into a religious and ethnic conflict with long-standing consequences, even a civil war that could spread into neighboring countries.
Since rebels overthrew the government in March, the country has descended into lawlessness, with marauding militants committing mass killings, rapes, and other atrocities.
The report of the Secretary General, latest developments, and the positions adopted by the French and Americans refer to pre-genocide if nothing is done.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has suggested a range of options to support an African Union operation. His recommendation: transform that force into a full-fledged UN peacekeeping mission.
The United Nations peacekeeping operation would ensure a multidimensional, integrated approach and enhance the international community's ability to apply political leverage, we would hope.
But diplomats concede assembling what could become an 11,000-person force can't happen overnight.
Even if we create a peacekeeping operation today, it will take at least, you remember the figures, between 4 and 6 months before the actual deployment of a peacekeeping operation. So now we are acting in an urgency. And the urgency is to do the job as quickly as possible.
In the meantime, French diplomats say they will draft a resolution supporting the AU force as it scales up to 3,600 personnel and requesting a plan for turning that force into a UN Blue Helmet operation. And Mike, once that resolution passes, France, which already has about 400 troops on the ground in CAR, says it will triple that presence to around 1,200. Then we can expect the Secretary General's report on a logistical time frame in just around 3 months.
And Stephen, in the interim, before those French forces actually arrive on the ground there, how is the African Union force expected to fare?
Well, very few believe that the AU force alone can really stem this crisis. They're supposed to gear up to around 3,600 personnel, but in the Secretary General's report, he points out some serious logistical, financial, and supply problems for this force. Indeed, they've been able to bring a degree of security to the capital, Bangui, but out in the provinces, there's still warring factions, including marauding militias, outside in those provinces, Mike.
So let me get a timetable or a timeline, if you will, in the event of approval. When can we expect action?
Well, Mike, the French say they'd like to get this resolution passed by next week. Then we'd see the Secretary General's report on transforming that force in about 3 months. Then, of course, with the Security Council's consent yet again, as the French ambassador said, it would take another 4 to 6 months to fully operationalize that force. We're not looking at anything until later in the year 2014. And, of course, CAR is preparing for transitional elections in 2015. But, of course, anything could happen between now and then.
Nothing happens quickly. Stephen Fee, live for us in New York. Thanks so much. And time now for you to join the discussion. It's your say. Our question: what do you think about France sending its military troops again to Africa? And do you think international military aid would help resolve the conflicts in Africa? Share your thoughts with us on Twitter, Facebook, and on Weibo, or you can email us at yoursay@cctv-america.com. Some of your answers will be ready and read for you a little bit later on in the broadcast.